Tempo in League of Legends, a very misunderstood and complicated term. We're going to be using this video to simplify it as much as we possibly can. A Tempo 101 masterclass for our League of Legends fundamentals. Tempo is fast pace, tempo, speed, and we're going to be talking a lot about that. A lot of time when I watch people or in coaching sessions, reviews, I feel like I'm watching the game in slow motion. And this is really what we're going to be breaking down here for tempo.
So let's start with what is tempo? Tempo, very simply, is free time to do things. Now, you come up with this very simple definition, Charlie. You want to maybe walk us through what we've got here?
Yeah, perfect. So tempo is time. Basically, that's the way you can view it. But more specifically, it's free time. Time where you can do things on the map to progress the game, and you're not tied to what I've defined as duties. Because right here, I say, why would you not just have free time all the time in the game to do things? And that's because there are duties you have to attend to, being minions, jungle camps, and recalls, right? That's what separates League of Legends, which is a combination of a fighting and strategy game, than just a normal fighting game where you can just do things, quote unquote, all the time, right?
Yeah, no, I love that. It's a very simplified way to talk about it. And to go a little bit further here, creating tempo advantages, meaning that you have time over your opponent, right, to do things, means making your opponent react and then doing things while they are busy, right? So you're either attending to your duties or you're making the enemy attend to duties. That's really it at the end of the day. That's kind of what tempo is simplified. You're up in tempo when you have free time to do things and your opponent doesn't. You're down in tempo when we don't have any free time to do things. It's really that simple. You don't want to overcomplicate it. So a lot of people, start to overcomplicate this. Don't worry, we're going to deconstruct it through plenty of examples. So that's what we're going to go ahead and get into now. So in this first example, we have a Talia versus Ryze in the mid lane. This Ryze is shoving in the Talia. And you'll see here in a moment after Ryze gets the wave in and takes this trade, he zips away and decides to go for a recall. So as we fast forward here, Talia has decided to stay for another wave. Maybe because Talia wants more gold or she doesn't want to reset on this cannon wave. And so now what happens is Ryze is based, TP'd back, and is now back in the lane ready to go with replenished resources. Whereas we, as the Talia here, have low resources and we need to go back to base. We have duties to attend to. We need to spend that gold. We need to get back in base and then replenish our resources and get back on the map. Right? And so now Ryze, having already attended to those duties, having got that recall and gotten back onto the map, has tempo over us. So Ryze has now free things to do. So Ryze, right, gets those duties out of the way by shoving in that mid wave. So he has no more duties to attend to. We have duties to attend to, being this minion wave in front of our face. And now Ryze has free time. Now, what he does with that free time is totally up to him. Now, Ryze is a roam-oriented champion. So the way he chose to use his tempo in this particular instance was to dive bot. And so he goes bot here in a moment and dives the bot lane and gets a nice little double kill for his bot lane. So this is tempo 101. He created tempo. He used that tempo to then get a roam off. Very simple.
It's really important with these clips that we show the context of the consequences of what happens when we ourselves, like the Talia, drops tempo or tempo advantages, for example, the Ryze here.
Yeah, a couple of terms that come to mind off this. Overstay. Overstaying goes hand in hand with poor tempo, right? If you're overstaying, it usually means you've elected to be a bit greedy. Maybe greed is another term that comes into context when I think of tempo. People choosing short-term advantages, like getting that few extra minions, over the longer-term thought process of how does that impact the game as a whole. And that's why reversing the VOD, you don't look at this double kill and think why is that happening in the moment? No, that happened because of what happened a minute prior. And that's why League is so beautiful as well.
Yeah, tempo,
I love seeing clips like
being
this.
down in tempo is the consequence of being down in tempo is typically a lagging effect.
Yes.
It won't be instantaneous. It will happen later on. And we get questions all the time in our communities. Curtis or Nathan or Charlie, how do I prevent this thing from happening? And then we'll go back maybe 60 seconds and be like, oh, it's actually because you messed up this recall here, yada, yada, yada. And now you're suffering the consequences later on. Okay, so getting into another example here, we had a little bit of a scrap in the river and I get chunked out. So now I'm down. I know that I have to go back to base. I have a choice to make. Do I want to attend to my duties now or do I want to attend to my duties later? And here I actually decide to I start my recall and I decide to end up ruining my tempo. I actively go down in tempo to stay for this wave. So I end up making a sacrifice. So I decide to, instead of just get my recall off immediately, I stay for this remaining wave, and now Victor has got that recall over me, which now means that I am down in tempo. I'm going to be inherently reacting to the Victor in the future. So now what's going to happen as I get back on the map, Victor is going to get back on the midway first. And now I'm going to be reacting to him. Now, sometimes, just like that, Victor's already now back in lane and I'm reacting to Victor. So this is a classic example where I'm down in tempo. And now the argument could be, was it worth it to stay for those 6 minions? Was it not worth it to stay for those 6 minions? That's totally up to you. And that's up to your, it's up to your discretion, really, in that exact moment. But this is an example where I'm down in tempo. And look, I'm versing a Victor. So Victor can't really use that tempo overly well comparatively to Ryze, like we saw in the previous example. So this is a nice little example of me being down in tempo, but it doesn't really cost me that much because I'm versing a Victor.
You can't permanently be up in tempo. There is going to be sacrifices in your games. You need to, sometimes the way I like to view it, it's like, okay, it's a bit of a chess turn. Victor's move, then it's sort of my move. And what you're trying to do, your goal is how can I have as much uptime tempo as possible, and how can I reduce the tempo from my opponent as much as possible?
Yeah, and just because you are, and we'll get into this later, but just because you're down in tempo is sometimes not the end of the world. There are certain champions that can leverage tempo better than others, and there's certain times in the game that it's better to have tempo than others. So just a nice little basic example there. So getting into this next example, I'm playing TF and I port my way to a team fight. We are kind of moving into the mid game here, and it's a bit of a scrap, and we end up killing a bunch of them. Now, so here I have a choice. I can theoretically stay on the map and maybe try to make something happen on the tier 2, but I decide here in a moment to insta recall and get back on the map. Now, if you take a look at the death timers, Victor's death timer has another 20 seconds, which means I'm going to have significant tempo over my counterpart here. I'm already back on the map, resetting, replenished my resources, spent my gold, go. And now this is where I'm the one that's dictating the pace of the game. I'm the one that's going to be able to make my choice, make the enemy react to waves. I have all the options in the world. I could go straight back to the side. I could hover mid. I could maybe look for another invade play. The world's my oyster here because I have tempo. And so a lot of people in that scenario after that play, they may have overstayed. They may have decided to stay for an extra wave or two. They may have stayed for a jungle camp. They may have just not recalled at all. But I actively, especially as a champion like TF that really wants to be up in tempo to make the next proactive play, decided to get my recall nice and early, get back to base, boom, and now I'm back on the map before the enemy really has time to respond. And as you can see here, as this plays out a little bit further, I'm already back into the side lane. MF hasn't even really had the time to shove out. So I'm already back in the side here, responding to waves. And if we let this play out even further, basically how this plays out is that they haven't even had time to swap the lane assignments because they're constantly reacting to the waves. MF was still bot from before. And notice where I'm able to catch the wave, by the way. I'm able to catch this wave super, super deep. Again, making MF react. And look at this, shove and move. And now I'm able to get a shove and move play in the side lane because of my tempo. Now look at this. MF is now reacting to that bot wave. Boom. I'm already now hovering mid and I'm able to attend a team fight or a play in mid here. So I've created a window for myself to make a man advantage play off that tempo reset.
The big thing there, going back to Fletcher from Whiplash, the speed in which you decided to make that recall, the position you put yourself in to shove that wave as quickly as possible so you could have a move. This is where it comes into, I always think it's someone's yelling at you, tempo, speed, like that. This whole thing looks very slow, but the decision making, the speed is going to, all the little milliseconds are going to add up. You get into mid lane way quicker than the misfortune catcher the bot wave.
Yeah, and that's why, as Curtis pointed out in that clip, contesting waves deep, the further up the lane you contest the wave, the more tempo you have.
More time you have.
Exactly right, because you clear it quicker because you arrive at the wave faster as well. But yeah, it's a beautiful example, and it kind of contradicts what you said earlier, Nathan, about you can't permanently keep tempo. This is a beautiful example of taking an aggressive play and chaining it with another aggressive play. Tempo lets you take 2 turns when you otherwise could have taken 1. Curtis was on the map, made a play, based. The enemy team had no play, and then he got to make another one. So that's what good tempo looks like. Not only giving yourself windows, but denying the opponent with the window as well.
This is end game, and you can do this when you're ahead more so than when you're behind, right?
Yep,
so
for sure.
So when this is looking at this clip, this is how you close out games. You make sure the enemy is getting
constrict them. You're
they have
strangling
zero
them.
options, 0 plays. You just have tempo after tempo after turn after turn because no one can contest you on waves.
Violence.
Yeah,
Yes.
Speed, violence, momentum.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
As we quote Doc, we got all the the bangers here. We've got Dr. Disrespect and we've got Fletcher from Whiplash. Let's see if
Yep.
we can find a third person for analogy for this tempo episode.
All right, so we've got a bit of an AD carry example here from one of my games, which starts off with a very scrappy fight in the enemy jungle at 4 minutes. And then what happens after I come out of base. So we're going to focus on what the enemy Jin does in this clip. He's ended a skirmish. I've died. He has to now make a decision with the wave. So he's elected to push the wave, right? But what you'll see here is because he tries to push the wave into tower, he's taking so long to do it. Look, my death timer is so short, I'm actually going to make it back in lane before he crashes this wave into my tower. My Nautilus also died in the skirmish and is also back alive. So this Jin has technically gone down on tempo because he's delayed his base by so long, right? I'm on the map before him. I also add insult to injury by sniping him with my W, canceling his base again, meaning that I get to push this wave in. I get to take the plate and deny him the whole wave. I also get first access to his next wave. I insta-push this wave. This gives my Nautilus a roam timer towards mid and lets me do whatever I want. I can base again. I can back the Nautilus up. I can camp in the bush. The world's my oyster, as Curtis said earlier. And this is all because, in this case, Jin actually made a mistake with his tempo. If we go back to the initial decision, one of the best things you spoke about earlier, Curtis, was basing while your opponent is still dead, right? Jin doesn't do that. I am dead. And instead of Jin insta-basing, which he could have done, he tries to push the wave. So this is a bit of like reset fundamentals mixed in with tempo fundamentals, but I think it's a good thing to show like what happens when you mismanage your tempo. Here's another example from the same game, this time later on in the mid game. I shove a wave into the enemy tower and then take a nice recall. So we're starting off, everything's good. If you crash waves into enemy towers before you base, it's going to be looking good. So right now, I'm actually down on tempo because Jin's already on the map, but he's actually got a bit of unspent gold. So in reality, I'm actually up in tempo because he still has to base, right?
He has duties to attend to.
Exactly right. He must replenish his gold and get more resources. So now, see what's happening because he's back in base. I get to push this wave. And similar with Curtis's example, I can do a classic shove and move all the way towards bot. We get a nice little juicy kills on bot lane. I get to hit the tower as well, breaking that one. In this case, I end up ditching the whole mid wave to clear this tower because I've decided that it would cost too much tempo to run all the way back mid, clear the wave, and then find a bad recall. So instead, I take the tower and I insta-base, prioritizing my tempo. I can now then get back on the map and make another play.
Yeah, and this is a really great example of how, with that tempo, you were able to make a proactive play. You chose to use your tempo to go for a shove and move play and create this man advantage. And something that a theme of this entire episode of tempo, what these two concepts go hand in hand, is tempo and man advantages. And really the bedrock of mid-game, isn't it? Really, that's the bedrock of mid-game is tempo. And this is how you create advantages because, you know, Nathan, I know you like to say on our podcast, how a lot of people start thinking of League in the beginning stages is everyone's going to rock up in mid lane, 5v5, we've got all our items, we're going to whack each other and who does more damage. And what you realize as you play League more is that, okay, the question that you're really asking is how can I create an advantage? And you're seeing how these are all ways that you can create strategical little advantages just through small little resets, and man advantages being the big one.
You can win a game of League of Legends never taking a man-even fight.
Man fight, yeah.
And that's what tempo is massively about.
Even when you're fed. Even
Yes.
when you're
Yes.
because it doubles
Even
down
more
the
so when you're
percentage
fed.
like of the play. You want to have a fighting advantage and a strategic advantage.
I actually want to echo what you just said there. Even more so when you're fed, actually, because when you're ahead, you don't want to even give them the opportunity to have a comeback, right?
They want the man.
Because why would you?
even fight.
Yeah, because why would you?
Why would you? Yeah, you can make them react because you're stronger.
That's actually such a good point. Like, you actually want to use your strength when you're ahead to push waves, not to like start random 5v5s in even terms. Like, if you're strong, then you should be getting perma-tempo.
It's so interesting because the way people think about translating leads is I'm fed, so I'm stronger, so I can
I can
just
kill
fight them.
anyone, and I can kill anyone I want.
But the way you really translate leads in the most reliable way is you use your strength to get shove, make them react to something, make them
exactly.
attend to duties, and then you use that time to create advantages. That's it. That's how you win reliably.
We can even just look at this example again, like a little bit here. When I'm up against the Zoe 1v1 in mid lane, right? Because I'm quite strong in the play right here, and firstly my team's around me, so we have a man advantage on Zoe, but I'm confident and I'm strong, which allows me to clear the wave against for Zoe and not be scared of her and create the move in the first place. If I'm a 0-3 Kai'Sa, I could never actually walk up to the wave in the first place.
And that changes the whole dynamic
Exactly
of the play.
right. Yeah.
And this is tempo is really important for AD carries. People think that, obviously there's lots of conversation, AD carries a weak role or whatever. This is how you carry and win games with AD carries because mid priority is League of Legends and the mid game. And this is how you take control of games as an AD carry, this clip right here. You create man advantage. Kaiser's, I think, is one of the best champs in the game, I guess, at it because you can get to fight so quickly with your R. But yeah, tempo is really how you can win games and close out games as an AD carry instead of that whole idea of like, I'm Uzi, I'm Vayne, I can click around and just like, I'm just going to win team fights. This is how you can win games.
All right, last example here. This is from a different game. Playing Kaiser again in the mid game. I've got Nathan Mott on my team.
Who's that volley bear?
Queued into him. We just want to fight, right? I'm pressing my recall button as soon as the fight ends. Notice again, common trend. Tempo and recalls go hand in hand. The enemy team are dead. I've identified the next objective is Artican, so I'm basing while they're dead so I can get to the next objective first, in brackets, with tempo, before the enemies do, right? Now, let's take a look what our friendly jungler, Mr. Mott, is doing in this time. He's doing his blue. Interesting. In this case, look at my spam pings. I actually ping the Artican, and I danger ping the Gromp 100 times because I don't want him to do Gromp. Because this Gromp means that Nathan is off tempo. Not quite my tempo, as Fletcher was saying.
No, I will be getting yelled at.
He's going to throw a chair at you. You're dragging.
Yes.
Look, I'm already at the objective. Keep this in mind, guys. We were at the same team fight. But because I had more intention around the next objective and prioritizing tempo, I managed to recall and already be hitting the next objective. And old mate Mr. Mott over here is still exiting the base gate.
You talk about greeting is the word you were. I'm greeting for jungle camps.
Exactly.
There.
Junglers love their camps, and hitting a jungle camp, as we'll get into later in the video, is a big reason why people actually go down on tempo. And we don't really have to watch how this one ends up, but because of all this situation, we end up having to flip this dirty Artican. The enemy Viego will make us in range. Nathan's gone for a crazy play.
I'm having a party on Ari in the mid lane there.
Yeah, and it's turned into a clown fiesta, right? Because I had tempo and Nathan didn't. Our tempo wasn't synced. So
that Artican would have been gone 10 seconds ago, right?
Yeah, and then we'd be on to the next play.
That's right, yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just a beautiful example.
A very classic example of how junglers ruin games in the mid game. There is a lot of junglers contest there. It's like, well, what happens if I'm playing Evelyn and I could get death cap off those two camps, right?
Yeah.
That's where sometimes it get a little bit murky. But again, trade it off, weigh it up. Okay, if my team all dies there on Artican, is that really worth my death cap? Do I even need death cap to win the game?
When I get asked those questions, I had one this morning in VOD questions, and I said, look, honestly, it doesn't really matter what decision you make as long as you understand the consequences, as long as you understand the trade-off. It's like, okay, I am actively ruining my tempo here, but I am getting this. But a lot of people think they're not thinking about the tempo. They're just thinking, oh, I see a shiny death cap here. That's all they're thinking about. They're not thinking about what they're losing. They're only thinking about what they're gaining. And League is a game of weighing up. Like in one of my earlier clips, I decided to stay for those 6 minions. I thought that was more valuable than sacking those 6 minions and getting a little bit of tempo, right? It's all about League's a push and pull game.
And I will take responsibility for that clip. I got no item or anything for that. That was purely just, I see camp on map, I go hit.
Oh yeah, the clip was meant to make me look good, not you. Don't worry about that. No. It's also like, it's just about intention as well. Like if you were hitting that Gromp and you were pinging your item, I like it when people do this. You ping the item, you danger ping the Artican, then yeah, I'm going to wait. Maybe I'll do a jungle camp as well.
And by the way, it's funny you mentioned that. I actually think like in solo queue, the way communication should be is that one person has one intention. It's like, I really want this. And then if someone really doesn't want it, they have to make it clear via their communication that they want something better. It's like it's like a meritocracy here. It's like who has the best quality opinion.
Yes. Actually, go back in this clip. I do those pings, Charles.
No
if you actually look, I ping. I accept reality that we're going to lose Artican. I literally say that.
No, but that's later. So I yell louder than you. I ping the Gromp, dude. My communication is crystal clear. I'm danger pinging the Gromp.
Yeah.
And you assist ping the midway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying,
look, you assist ping mid because you want to
don't go to Artican. Hit the midway
because he knows he's down on tempo.
Yes, I accept the reality.
But I'm just like I'm forcing the issue,
And
I'm ignoring the issue. The Nathan's not here. I'm like, I'll just do it anyway,
But this is really good because it shows two players that are playing with intention.
We are
Nathan
playing
has
with
his
tempo.
intention. You're playing with tempo.
Yeah, it's not about right or wrong.
It's not about right or wrong. It's about you're both playing with intention, and that's the most important thing. That's what makes you guys great players in the game. You're active participants in the game. You're both making decisions in this game.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I love this moment. It was very fun.
Love that word, Curtis. Active participants in the game. We're not sitting there autopilot, not using our pings, just
we'll
walling
die
around.
by our decisions, Nathan,
I'm just riding with the waves. Just here's a League of Legends game. Like I'm like saying, all right, I don't give a shit, Charlie, that I lost tempo. I'm telling you to go get the midway, but you're ignoring me.
I'm like, yep, fuck you. It's like, fuck you, no, fuck you, no, fuck you. It's like, I'm just going to hit it anyway.
All right, let's get into some seriously good jungle clips from me now. Okay, so the first clip here, we've got a nice, simple, really common early game situation around the first dragon. This is a video that I recorded with Schönfire. I think he recently in Korea got like top 30 or something like that on the ladder in Challenger, one of the best solo queue junglers in the world. And this is a really good clip demonstrating tempo and how much Schönfire here values tempo, especially in the early game. So pay attention here to the death timers of the enemy team. Ari, Nami, Lucian, Jarvan. Right now, every single jungler here would just start the dragon. Dragon is now alive. I'm now gonna play out the clip. Bear with me. This was a YouTube video. I went back and forth, whatever. I'm sort of just gonna speed through this, but decides not to do dragon here, all right? Because he wants to value his tempo, because all his top side camps are up right now. So valuing camps and valuing getting back bot side as quickly as possible is important. Because at the end of the day, Jarvan's not gonna be able to do this dragon here.
He's got duties to attend to.
Yes, we have our camps to attend to. So we could have easily done that dragon. You might be saying he's too low HP. He could have easily just pinged, look, his Jin's full HP. But he's also valuing, I guess, as well, his Echo's tempo and also Jin's tempo. He's actually helping his team also get back on the map and create their own tempo as well. So let's speed through this now.
While you speak through this, Nathan, isn't it a very common thing that junglers love to do is get a kill and then do dragon?
Yes.
But it's actually a mistake a lot of the time, right?
Yes, I mean, you can lose, especially when your camps spawn in.
Well, it's not that you're giving the dragon, really, right? You're still ending up there later on.
We're going to get the dragon anyway.
You're going to get the dragon anyway.
And ideally, we're constantly getting our camps off spawn rotation.
Yeah.
So as we see here, Schön pops a whole full clear really, really quickly, dragging out his camps. He's got Fletcher yelling at him, speed, tempo. He's dragging his camps to the next play. And then now, because we're so high on tempo, we're allowed to invade the Jarvan and push him off the red buff. So that's speed. This is what the best players in the world will do. Think about what this, and this is what people think with jungling. They think that you can only be high farm or you're ganking and pressuring and playing aggressive. Schön is doing both here because he's so fast on tempo for not doing that dragon. Think about the pressure that this Pantheon's putting out here. He's now alphaed the Jarvan out of his jungle, taken all his camps, and then we're going to be able to get dragon here anyway. So,
and he's doing dragon when all the camps are down.
Yeah, and this is what you want, right? So this is a really classic example of not doing a dragon objective, which everyone tells you to do. Remember the Dante's episode? He was saying a jungler's just got to do dragon. That's all you got to do to get dragons. But Schönfire here is playing such an advanced game. The speed, the tempo here. Great example of junglers in situations that's very common. This guy is just powering through the jungle, it's simultaneously getting all his camps off as quickly as possible and pressuring the map and getting objectives all in one. That's when you have good tempo as a jungler. Okay, so this clip here is going to be more about, we're approaching the mid game here. About jungling is a lot about syncing tempo with your teammates. And it's a lot about the decision not to do a jungle camp. So as we see in this clip here, the Raptors and Red I've just taken. This is me playing volleyball here. And I've skipped the Krugs intentionally because I know I need to sync up all my teams coming out of base here. I need to spend my gold and I need to get straight bot side. You've actually look at my ping now, by the way. Nathan Mott here, it's on the way. I'm literally pinging the Raptors camp here. So I'm looking to get really aggressive and pressure. I'm 2-0-2. The game's on a bit of a knife's edge. It's 7 kills to 6. So this is a very important window. If I do Krugs here, I'm not going to be able to do everything that I'm going to basically be able to do in this clip. So I recall, spend my Cosmic Drive, and I'm sprinting on that because I see that my Yone is going to have tempo and also my bot lane. So this is the perfect window for me as a jungler. I need to be pressuring with my team. If you actually look here, again here, I'm actually going to completely skip all my camps to pressure. I probably should be pinging Yone a little bit more to be that I want to invade the bot side here. But again, I'm getting on the map, getting aggressive, syncing up tempo with my teammates. And then as we're going to see here, because of that whole play here, now I'm there for the bot lane play here. And I can, we can get some flashes and whatever. Imagine if I did Krugs. My team could maybe get caught and get killed there. And then as we're going to sort of see here, now, because again, I'm living in his bot side, I think about all the pressure I'm putting out. I'm pushing out the enemy jungler. I'm here protecting my laners, making sure that they're not, because laners are very good when they have tempo to do a bad play or just go dive or do something stupid, right? So I'm just here pressuring. And as you see here, I've just completely skipped all my camps. So just pressure. I've cleared all the wards. All the wards that I've done is a lot of pressure. And then I see mid here. And then I'm going to dive mid, kill the Victor. And the game basically explodes here. And suddenly the game was like looking pretty air. And because I was bot, I prevented the enemy jungler from doing any plays. I protected my teammates. And I simultaneously also as well, by the way, I got a lot of my weak side camps off the map as well. So if the enemy jungler was top side, at max he gets a Krugs. Who cares? My top lane's losing quite hard. I was bot winning the game looking to dive with my ult.
Yeah, I would just say you just basically put yourself in the right place at the right time. That's what good tempo as a jungler looks like, right?
Because the difference between a jungler and a laner is that camps aren't the same as minion waves. Minion waves
Right,
are...
it's not the same level of duty.
Yes.
Whereas minion waves are kind of like a non-negotiable in a way, whereas like jungle camps, there's a bit of leeway there.
You can think about it, you can skip them. Like jungle camps don't give you pressure. Minion wave you push, you can dive, you can deny minions. But a jungle camp is just some gold just sitting there. And as long as I'm getting away my weak side camps and I want to play bot side, then the enemy jungler can't get any of his camps anyway. And I'm weighing up the value here is pressuring bot and dive in mid and protecting my laners at this stage of the game, 13 minutes. Is that my Wolves and Gromp more important than that? No.
It's interesting because jungle is nearly purely a tempo-based role, isn't
Yes,
it? It's
it
like
is.
you're always thinking about efficiency, time, tempo, and what do I do with that
And
tempo? How do I
when am
use
I
that
skipping
tempo the
camps?
best?
Yes.
There's so many small things you did there, Nathan, as
Yeah.
well. Like using your Volibear Q off cooldown to run across the map faster. You didn't spend a million years to buy your items in base. You quickly clicked them and clicked out of base. You skipped all your bot side camps as well. You just hung around in the river just for a while, just so you're in the right area. And the reason Nathan's doing that, by the way, is because it takes less time to run from the river to a lane than it does from the blue buff to the lane. So he doesn't want to be on the blue and then have to get off the blue. He wants to just be at the lanes, so you have to cover less distance. It's all about how fast your character moves places, really, isn't it? That's a lot of our tempo is about.
Speed, violence, momentum. I don't know if I did that the right way. But this is a good example, again, of thinking higher level about the game with tempo and syncing with your team. It's not about you here. It's actually about my teammates. If my Yone and my Janna didn't have tempo, guess what I'll do? I'll just hit my Wolves and my Gromp in that situation. It's purely based on my Yone and my Janna and my bot lane having the tempo.
So moving on to the next concept, tempo debt. Every play has a cost, as we kind of seen in these examples so far. You either pay with tempo that you currently have, or you go into tempo debt. And tempo debt basically equals to the amount of free time the enemy can do things. Really that simple. You either have tempo or the enemy have tempo. When you're down in tempo, that's kind of a tempo debt. Tempo debt means that you are reacting to the enemy's decisions. It's a reactive state of the game. And I often talk about this concept in terms of feeling like you're in tempo debt, and it feels like you're being strangled. It feels like you're being chokeholded. It feels like you have such limited options. You're simply in this like very reactive, constricted state of mind, and especially when you're playing at a high level of play, when you're versing players who understand this concept of tempo, you just feel like you're stuck in your base. You don't get any of your camps. You're face checking bushes. You have no vision. You're catching waves at tier 2 on repeat. It's a very you're like strangleholded basically.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that Twisted Fate example you showed where you decided to delay your recall is a perfect example of that. Like, if you're versing a laner who can actually impact the map with that window, they can really screw you over, you know? I also want that feeling of, like, being strangled. Like, I imagine, like, a jungler who, like, is super efficient. Like, they gank top. You notice there's a bot lane of they're ganking top, so you try and push out, and then they're already bot lane to stop you crashing the wave because of their tempo. So, yeah, you can do a lot of stuff.
So, we're going to get into early lane tempo. League is not exactly a turn-based game like chess or card games, but is instead played on minion waves. So in the early game, it really is, tempo is really kind of about minion waves, right? Pushing a minion wave into the tower forces a response from your enemy, right? And this is kind of what we talk about duties.
Yep.
The duty that they have to then do is basically, get that farm under tower, right? So farm the wave to get that golden experience, or they either have to drop the wave to match your play, right? This is kind of tying into they either have to react to your play, go down in tempo, or again, yeah.
And I'll also say for, talking about chess turns, the early game, it is more of a chess turn-based game because champions move slower, cooldowns are longer. People can't dash around the map like super fast. Cooldowns are long. It takes a long time to push and kill minion waves. As the game goes on, the tempo speeds up. So tempo can be sort of very slow in the early stage of the game, and it might be a bit more of that chess
It's
turn.
a good starting metaphor for League. Like, it does feel sometimes like a turn-based game, but in reality, it isn't really.
It's not exactly, but it is kind of because
There's elements of it.
minions spawn every 30 seconds. They demand a response, so we're kind of taking little 30-second turns. Another reason why it's more important in the early game is because percentage-wise, like the golden XP you get from minions is just more important in the early game, you know?
Yeah.
When I'm level 1, for example, it only takes a wave and a bit to hit level 2. So that first wave is the most important wave of the whole game, right? And then they become less and less important, mostly, as the game goes on.
And so when you get tempo in the early lane, there's basically 4 things you're going to do. You're either going to use that time to recall, you're going to use that time to plays vision, you're going to use that time to move to plays or shove and move and roam, or you're going to use it to take objectives.
Yep.
That's really it. In the early game, you don't really have a ton of options because you're not really synced up with your team. You're really just doing things that are good for you. So there's only a few limited options here.
And it's really important that, talking about the mental stack we talk about on this podcast and this channel, you need to be prepping these things in advance. You need to be thinking about, am I going to do one of these 4 things as I'm shoving the wave, or even before the wave comes?
You can't choose after the wave dies. Really good point.
You like to use the terminology, Charles. You see people just push a wave and just do doughies. They just don't know what to do. They just waste time, or it's just super slow and delayed, you know? They don't have Fletcher in their ear saying, come on, speed tempo. What are you going to do? Make a decision on one of these 4 things? You better, if you're too slow, 2 seconds, you're like, all right, thrown at you.
Yeah, it's actually one of the most common mistakes I see. People, like, they're reactively recalling. They're not thinking, oh, I have this amount of gold or, you know, this amount of resources, so I should plan out my recall. And what that means is that if you're not planning your recall, you don't know which wave to shove in what manner. So you're actually missing out on tempo. Because if you shove the wave in a very slow, like, you know, crap way, you're missing tempo because you might have actually been better off trading HP for the wave.
Yeah.
Smash all your resources on the wave. Use all your abilities on the wave. Boom, you're already getting that recall before your enemy. You're up in tempo. And then you have that window to kind of make the enemy react.
Speed, violence, momentum.
The theme of this episode. Yeah, and this is a great segue into the next slide here. Tempo and recalling, right? Spending gold and replenishing resources also must be taken into consideration. And there is a cost involved in recalling, right? It's time, right? If you think about it, it's time involved in pressing the base button, that channeling, getting into base, spending your gold, replenishing resources, and coming back out of base. It's a very time-consuming thing. So you need to choose what you want to pay with. We're going to either choose to pay in tempo, pay in golden experience, where you're going to lose minions and, you know, hunter tower, or you're going to lose in pressure. Maybe the enemy's going to be able to pressure you onto tower. And this kind of goes back to, you know, some of my earlier mid lane examples where I actively went down. I paid in tempo. I got my recall, but I
got all the gold.
I got all the golden experience, but I paid in tempo.
Yes.
And I paid in pressure. Whereas some of the other ones, I actually probably paid in, I got my tempo, but then, well, actually, some of them, there is, if you're really, really far ahead, that's where...
If you can nuke the wave base and get back before your opponents even touch the wave, then you're probably so ahead that none of this really matters. Right. But usually, if you do that, the enemies still get one turn.
They get usually one wave of pressure.
Exactly right. Yes.
Exactly. And so, fun fact, League has no stoppages. You can technically, this is kind of running counter to what you said earlier, Nathan, can keep tempo forever as long as you get back to each wave as it meets. But it's just
it's just not practical. You never will get back to every time before me, but technically you can.
It depends on the quality of the opponent. The opponent's going to be putting that pressure on you because they understand tempo, right? I would say this is when you look at smurfing content.
Yes.
People play in lower ranks.
Always up in tempo.
You can permanently be up in tempo the whole game because the enemy's not pushing or they're too slow to do things.
Or the enemy is not punishing your low tempo. So it almost feels like you're always up in tempo because they're not doing anything when you're behind, you know? So that's one of the many reasons why smurfing can get very toxic.
I'm also thinking of, like, if you're playing a top laner, right? We haven't talked about top lane or support much. If you're playing Fiora as a top laner, right? And you're just in a winning matchup, you kind of can just keep push the whole game in the side, even in the early game, and just constantly have move.
You know, actually, it's funny you mentioned that top lane. One thing that we're not going to talk about, but we probably should have in this thing is proxying.
Oh, yeah. That's a cheating of tempo,
It's a cheating of tempo. And proxying is now a very modern day top lane concept. And most coaching sessions that I tune into in the Top Lane Academy, I know Chippies and Luca talk a lot about proxying, right? And it's a really great way to get a metric ton of tempo because you're catching that wave and recalling way before the enemy because they have to respond to the wave under the tower. You've already got that wave. You're already, boom, recalling while they're still responding to the wave. So it's a really great way to generate mass tempo and get a really streamlined recall.
Also, another thing with the proxying topic, because it is so sexy, like if you force the enemy jungler to come chase you around the map Benny Hill style,
their tempo.
You're burning everyone's tempo. Everyone's thinking about you. Like, I mean, even the classic top lane thing is to just push up bot lane super deep post 25 minutes, the enemy comes and kills you and your team does Baron.
That's the baus special. The
Yeah.
baus was basically a giant tempo like sponge. He would
Yes.
basically ruin the entire of the enemy team's tempo, which would allow his team to do
tempo.
whatever the hell they want to do. Take all the enemy jungle camps, get neutral objective or whatever. So that's why it felt so annoying to deal with. That's why everyone hates versing Singed and all these proxying based champions, because they're so hard to kill. They waste so much time. Now, just moving on to mid-game tempo. Mid-game tempo has two components, you versus your counterpart. So do I have, you as a laner or you as a jungler, your direct counterpart, tempo in relation to your counterpart, or your team versus the enemy team? The name of the game in mid-game is numbers advantages and being at objectives first. I love this. It's just like a very kind of neat and tidy way of viewing mid-game tempo, because that's really what mid-game is about. Man advantages and objectives, right? That's it. End of story. And if you're thinking about these two things in some way, shape, or form, you're probably doing things well. So for solo laners in the mid game, for tempo, we're typically showing and moving.
Yep, making our opponents react to
Making
waves.
our opponents react. AD carry. You're maintaining that mid push, making the enemy react. You're having first move. You're then using that control or using that push, to get control, vision, attend fights first, get neutrals, whatever. Jungling support. It's all about, like Nathan's clips from before. You're being at the right place at the right time. You're syncing up with your team. You're creating man advantages. You're being at objectives first. You're being at the right place at the right time. And then, for top lane, it's kind of in solo laners. And then it's also important to synchronize your tempo with your teammates, like we saw with Nathan's examples, really thinking about, well, my team's pressuring the map right now. If I pressure the map right now as well, and I sync up my tempo with them, my resets with them, it's going to allow us to do more things.
Yeah, the way I describe synchronizing your tempo with your team is there's two modes you can kind of be in. You can be on a map or off map. And that doesn't mean in the base. It kind of means you're off map if you're doing jungle camps, or you're catching waves at the towers, or you're clearing vision, something super safe, but you're on the map when you're actively pressuring the game, right? So in an ideal world, and this is very idealistic in solo queue, you want to all be on the map at the same time, and you want to all be off the map at the same time.
At a high level, that's what you're chasing.
That's what you're trying
Yeah.
to. You're always, and it's not like a rule, but you're cognizant of it, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to be cognizant.
We're trying to be as synced up as we possibly can, but we understand, like I showed in the Volibear example earlier, we all have different ideas about what exactly to do, but that's kind of something that we want to be, kind of idealizing, I guess.
I think it's also, it's interesting. I don't want to spend too long on this, Nathan, but for junglers, I always think about, you have those hard carry junglers and those ones that just doing their own thing, like Evelyn or whatever. And then you've got the more junglers that need to be really thinking about win conditions, and they're thinking about complementing win conditions.
Those are the champions that don't have the damage to just run around and kill everyone. That's like a Poppy, a Jarvan, a Volibear that I was playing in the clip. You really need to be amplifying and setting up your teammates. Nocturne, I guess, as well.
So it's in a way, those champions kind of incentivize you for learning the concept of tempo, right? Whereas those other champions, you can be maybe a little bit sloppier.
Yeah, I mean, tempo that's more for those type of carry champions. It's about being on your camps on spawn. That's more of the early game camp tempo type thing. Mid game tempo for those type of junglers, I guess, is more about
hovering, maybe.
Yeah, that's
advanced
right.
concepts.
Yeah.
So speaking of jungle, we've got jungle tempo, Nathan. So junglers are tied to jungle camps, not minion waves, like we were mentioning before.
That's your duty. That's your responsibility. Your jungle camps.
Must consider when your camps respawn.
So specifically as well, your first 3 to 4 clears, getting to your camps on spawn is so important, because jungle camps spawn every 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and you get massive levels. You go from your second clear, you go from level 4 to level 5.5. The quicker you can get that, then the quicker you get to level 7, and the quicker you get to level 8 after that. So the first, I kind of emphasize enough, tempo about junglers is about getting to camps on spawn. You're only allowed to make sort of 1 play, max maybe 2, and then you get back to your camps. Like that Schoenfrei example, that was a long fight in the river skirmish. Death time was there. His camps are back up. He needed to go back to camps on spawn and skip the dragon. The amount of time a gank takes, ganking full HP laners with all summoner spells up takes a long time, and you need to be really aware of the amount of time that it's taking for you to gank. And then you would ask, if the gank took a long time to take, maybe that wasn't a good gank. Maybe it's not worth me losing that tempo. Maybe I'm giving the enemy junglers options on me. Just because I ganked this, even if I get the kill, maybe on the back end, that 1 minute 90 seconds after, I missed plays or opportunities that were more valuable because I went for that gank that just took too long. Your ideal scenario, again, going high level, is that you want your ganks to be quick, short, and sharp. And that's when you have like setup with your lanes have CC, like a Nautilus or a Thresh or whatever, or someone's like heavy trading or low HP, or it's just a chaotic situation. Again, HP and resources comes into play. Taking a dragon or grubs takes 30 seconds approximately. By the time you get there, you do it. People don't actually know how long it takes to take a dragon or grubs. That's a big tempo chunk loss. And, you know, you could probably even extend that as well. By the time you like maybe recall, go to the other side of the map, it could be upwards of 40 seconds. So it's important to note how long these objectives take to get by yourself. Mid-game, 10 minutes plus. Your tempo is tied to your laners and minion waves more than your camps. The first 3 to 4 clears, as I said in the early game, the tempo on your camps is really important, but then it becomes less important in the mid-game because syncing up with your teammates and minion waves is really important because you can't skip a minion wave, you can skip jungle camps. And the last one here I have is the 40 seconds before objective spawns principle. You need to be being in the river first, setting up, sweeping, control wards, hovering your laners to let them get priority so you can get control of the river is very important. I see too often in reviews, people will get to the objective, you know, as it spawns or even just late, and then they don't have control of the situation. Especially when you're ahead, you must be applying the 40 second before the objective spawns principle. Be prepared to be on the map 40 seconds before the objective spawns in that area or that location.
A lot of great jungle information there.
One more thing on that topic, Curtis, so I just interject, but like, it's interesting you say like you're tied to jungle camps, not minion waves. Like, I think the thing about the jungle camp minion wave thing is like, if you drop a minion wave, you give the enemy laner a window. But if you drop a jungle camp, you don't give the enemy jungler a window, which is what you were saying before, why they're less important. That's why you can drop them more, I think. Does that make sense,
Yes.
Nathan?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Moving on to cheating tempo. There are certain ways you can quote-unquote cheat tempo. And cheating tempo, Charlie, you want to maybe give it a quick definition?
Yeah, sure. So I guess like there's like the laws of the game, I guess, based around like how fast champions move. What Nathan was talking about there before. How fast is it? How quickly can you take a wave? How quickly can you recall and get back on the map? How quickly can you arrive at plays? All of these things are kind of predefined values in the game that everyone has like a bit of a mental understanding of like how long things take. But there are some things in the game which kind of make all these things take less time, like summon a teleport. You can recall at a shittier way and then teleport back on the map. You can use things like Rise ulti, Twisted Fate ulti, Talia ulti. I would say also things like high movement speed champions like Pyke can run around the map with his W active incredibly quickly. Misfortune can move across the map with a W very quickly. That's why I call Misfortune the tempo terror. High wave clear champions like Victor can one-shot a wave with the E, and that really ruins tempo because you can just nuke the wave and then you're zipping into the river before the enemy middle lane has even looked at the wave once, right? And then one other thing here is being so ahead you don't need to recall. Now, this is so cool. This is so important to think about. Like, imagine if you kill your lane opponent, but you're so strong already, you don't have to go back to base to replenish resources. You've broken the game at that point because you just get to stay in lane, have perma tempo, keep shoving waves, and then chain plays together.
Again, you'll see that more so in smurfing content. That's very, very hard to do if you're playing against players equal skill level to you.
It depends on how free a kill is, Nathan. Like if you gank my lane and we kill my lane opponent and I use no resources for it and I've only got like 400 gold in my pocket, I don't need to recall. And all of a sudden then the tempo becomes insane. It like compounds at that point, you know?
Yeah, and you know, the two champs that really come to my mind when it comes to cheating tempo is Quinn, just with how fast you zip around.
That's
the
a good
map,
one, yeah.
And Garen, because Garen is fast, and you have great wave clear.
Yeah,
Like especially in mid game, you can proxy. You're hard to kill. You have high wave clear, and you're fast. So you're a champ that is able to generate so much tempo for those reasons. So what we're going to get into here is some just common examples or common ways that people lose tempo, both from a basic lens and then an advanced lens. So just some basic ways people lose tempo.
And these are all things that we've done, you guys have done. Yep. These are really practical things. This is how you lose tempo. This is how you lose games.
It's more of a thought exercise. Like which one of these can you remember recently in your own games? Maybe you're probably guilty of one of these, whether you're hitting plates, plates, we see
they're very attractive.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, plates, I always say tower damage doesn't mean shit. Unless you're getting the tower, like actually killing the tower, it's not really worth the tempo thing. Now, sometimes it might be worth it if you need that gold for like a very big item. It's like, oh, I just need 100 and something gold to complete my Ludens or something. Then sometimes, yeah, it is what it is. But commonly, we see people not thinking about that. They're thinking, oh, there's a plate. I want to go get that plate. They completely throw away their tempo. Very, very common.
It's, I think, Charlie, you like to put it where plates is a luxury.
Yes.
That's like let's say you literally have nothing else to do.
Even hitting towers is a luxury.
It is, yeah.
That's what I always say.
It's an absolute luxury. You'd be surprised at how little like high level players hit the tower or hit the plates.
Yes, it's a luxury. Doing 3 ganks in a row, Nathan.
I see this just way too often. So think about how long a gank takes. I see someone like gank bot. They might go for a repeat gank bot and then they go for a gank mid. Your camps have just been up probably for a whole rotation where they could be down of respawning 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And you're losing massive amounts of tempo, experience, and gold. Those ganks especially are just not really going to be worth it. I very rarely see them ever be worth it. Think about it as like the 1-1 rule. That's a good thing that I like to teach my Jungle Academy students. It's more of like I want to be doing my camps and looking for one play. Camps, one play. If you do like a 1-3-1 ratio, end of review. 1-2 can be okay if that gank is really, really quick or you got your camps really fast off the map. But yeah, making it a 1-3-1 scenario is very, very bad. 3 boss ganks in a row.
Basing in a bad location. This is actually, if you look at any high elo game, what you'll see is high-level players will try to scout for lazy recalls.
Yeah.
They'll walk up in the lane, they'll keep them honest, they'll force them to walk all the way back.
Remember the Yarg clip from the arena that we did where Yarg on Alistar ran?
Yes.
This is a clip from our community channel. I'll put it in the description below. What were you going to say? He hunts the recall.
He hunts those recalls. And this is a very practical skill, by the way, that you can punish when you're versing people in, especially in below diamond. Really, for that matter, below diamond.
People get very lazy and sloppy with their
very
bases.
sloppy locations.
80 carries suck at recalling properly, by the way. I see this every day in my coaching
And it's
sessions.
like the example you showed. You cancel that base with that Kaiser W.
Yep.
Obviously, that maybe wasn't the greediest location from Jin. Yours is well played on your Kaiser W. But still the same premise of once you cancel that base, look at the consequences of now what happened off the back of that. So just very, very important. Look for bad, sloppy resets. Sieging a T3 tower, very rare that you're going to be able to siege a tier 3, especially without Baron. We're kind of mentioning more so without Baron. And typically what happens, they kill it, they ace the enemy team, they walk up, they all get excited, they start hitting the tier 3, all the enemies start respawning.
They start running away, they
Screwed.
scatter around, your teammates, and there's people getting caught and stuff, and you lose Baron. I mean, how many times has this happened?
Yep.
Yeah, tracking death timers is actually quite important for the tempo, isn't it? I think that's a thing that a lot of people just don't do by default.
Yep. Staying for an additional minion wave when not needed. You don't need that additional gold. I see this all the time in my reviews. It's like, you just don't need it. Just base. You don't need to get every single wave. That's okay. You have all the gold you need. Get back on the map, tempo, sync up with your jungler.
It's the autopilot thing.
Yeah.
It's the jungle. It's the same version of the jungle saying, I see camp in front of myself, like my volley
the
bear
Gromp.
clip. I go do Gromp. I see Gromp. It's like the monkey with the banana. I see
It's
banana.
so hard
I
to do,
eat Gromp.
Nathan. I'll be honest. Like, if you end a play and there's a wave there, you're fighting like a carnal urge to just click the wave.
It's like prehistoric. It's like
it is.
It's like caveman.
It's in our
human.
DNA,
It's
dude.
in our
It's
DNA.
carries. Like, the wave's there. Like, what are you going to... yeah.
Deploying incorrectly on the map. I see this all the time. People deploy out of the map. They don't realize that the wave's in Narnia all the way to the tier 2. They go all the way bot and realize, I probably can't be here. So then they go all the way mid. So they do this giant, scenic route. Loop-de-loop around the map, and it's just very inefficient.
Fletcher is throwing the chair at you for that type of
yeah.
play. So slow.
Greeting for a jungle camp at 22 minutes.
Yes.
Oddly specific.
Oddly specific. I wanted to get really specific because I see Evelyn players do this. I've had so many reviews I can think of. It's like they have like Evelyn is full build after Magi's Death Cap,
Lichbane or something, right?
yeah, Lichbane, the 3 items, right? Clearly Magi's. And they're hitting camps where they could just one shot in. They have 25 seconds of Magi. They're just hitting camps when there's free picks in the side lane or whatever. So, or then, go back to the sync in with teammates or my play. I'm hitting Gromp
Yeah,
and
Nathan's hitting
Adacon's up.
Gromp. Exactly right. You are the jungle doing that.
Yes.
In that clip.
Yeah.
No, now for some more advanced ones. Missing a reset window, overstaying, very common. Typically, you see this even in Master Plus a lot. I would say actually this is where I spend a lot of my time in my reviews, and specifically in those transition periods where they've just done something. There's been a play. They've maybe done an invade or they won a team fight on a dragon, and then they just miss a reset window. They stay for too many waves or they overstay on the map. They ruin their tempo. Very, very common. We've got one of our personal favorites here, SeaWorld neutral objectives, Charlie. You've coined this one.
Yeah, so basically, like, the enemy team are doing an objective, and instead of using the time they're spending to do that objective, because remember, neutral objectives take time, as Nathan said earlier, they're spending their time doing that.
And you can't contest it clearly.
No, you can't contest it. Instead of going away and making them burn their time and you do something else, like pushing out waves or dealing with your duties, you're just kind of watching them in the pit, like they're orcas at SeaWorld, just like in the river, just dancing around. I don't know. I don't think I've even been to SeaWorld, but you know, they're in SeaWorld and you're just watching them over the wall, having a fun time. That's a very easy way to burn tempo.
Compensation. We've all been there, done that. You know you shouldn't go for it. You know it's not going to work, and you end up watching your teammate die, or even worse, die yourself. So very, very common way to lose tempo.
And the reason why that's common to lose tempo is a really cool thing you can do is you can use your teammates making bad plays as time to push out waves. And if you don't do that, you know
the slogan here, let them rot mott.
Yes, that is another one of my various
This is the reason you're
names.
trying to avoid compensation.
Yes.
You know
Exactly
that
right.
you can't help them. You'd rather just let them die.
Push
don't
a wave, do
even
something
do whatever.
else.
Boom.
I've actually find it cool, by the way. I love sometimes when my team gets caught because I'm like, thank God I can go fix a wave
Yeah, it's
while they're
actually
getting
good
caught.
for you,
It's actually
yeah.
good, yes.
And the enemy can't get anything off it because there's no
Exactly.
objective up, and
And they're making the
responded
play
to your
off
wave.
tempo oftentimes. They're just burning time doing a kill.
You get a free tempo for you.
Because we didn't talk about this. I'm sorry to cut you off on your list,
that's all right.
Curtis, but like sometimes a kill can kind of cost you tempo as a team.
Yes.
It can actually end up being net bad.
Low value kills.
Yeah, which can be really complicated, but yeah.
Starting in neutral and getting pushed off of it, pretty self-explanatory. So overstaying for an item, which is not necessarily bad. You are losing tempo, but sometimes it's worth it.
Just a cost.
It's just a cost. Messing up a lane assignment, you might be like, oh shit, I can't be versus this guy. I need to swap, so you need to go back to base, swap with your laner.
Yeah.
It gets very messy. Or not syncing base with your team, you know. So that's you. I see this with junglers. They'll stay for like, again, an additional camp or two, especially post Baron. You know, it's like,
Oh, they
we
love
just
it,
want
yeah.
to get back on the map. Just get on the map.
AD carries do this as well, by the way. When the Baron dies, going for the top wave after Baron dies often can desync your recalls of your team. So I don't want to say junglers are the only ones doing this. AD carries are tempo blood idiots.
Thank
as
you,
well.
Charlie.
So quickly, why is tempo hard to grasp? So just a few quick points here. Just because you have tempo doesn't mean you know how to utilize it. So many people watching this can see moments or feel moments that have tempo, but they just don't know what to do.
What do I do?
Because you've got to be able to think in the future. You know, you have to be able to use your lol sets to read the map and understand the game state. So it's not exactly easy. It's only one half of the formula. You know what I mean? It's only one half.
It's like it's actually it's the first step of many, really, isn't it? It's like now you've got the world's your oyster. Okay, shit. Now what the hell
You've
do I do?
created the window. Now you got to use the window.
Yeah.
Tempo is hard to measure. And the reason it's hard to measure is because sometimes you may personally have tempo, but your team may not, vice versa, right? So it's not that simple. Certain scenarios allow for aggressive uses of tempo, whereas other scenarios, you might actually use tempo to minimize or neutralize. For me, when I'm playing from behind, if I can get tempo, that might allow me to get back on the map, get additional weights, and then establish vision so our team doesn't get caught. So you can actually use tempo defensively in ways, right?
Yeah, I call this like a capital injection sometimes. Well, I'll have tempo on the map, and instead of contesting the objective or doing something proactive, I'll use my tempo to like sneak some waves, go to a side lane, push some side waves, maybe get like a T1 tower or something, and then just base again. And I've just got a lovely like 1,500 gold capital injection for the bank that I get to use.
Certain champions can leverage tempo more aggressively than others. We saw this in the mid lane examples where that Ryze was able to, you know, use tempo aggressively to dive a side lane, whereas the Victor got tempo and just hovered out of vision, really got nothing, because certain champions, not every champ can roam.
Yep.
Right? And sometimes it's also the timing. You know, here, the better you are at the game. Okay, so there's two different points. So the first one is timing in the game. Sometimes tempo is very relevant because there's many neutral objectives up. There's many things to do. There's many duties to attend to. Whereas other games, you might have tempo and it's like, well, there's no neutrals up. I can't really do that much. The enemy are kind of hunkering down and no one's got cooldowns. So tempo doesn't matter. Sometimes you might even want to be like, you know what, I'm going to sack my tempo here. It doesn't really matter all that much.
Sometimes you can get a little bit too excited with the
Yeah.
tempo. Oh, I'm so excited, got a wave push. But sometimes you have to sit back, relax, and just accept reality. There'll be plenty of opportunities. But you know, the point there, sometimes your teammates aren't going to have the tempo.
And then lastly, the better you are at the game, the more relevant tempo becomes, because you create those windows But the better you are at the game and the more knowledge you have about the game, the more you're going to be able to utilize those windows to get shit done, basically.
It's also because the higher ranks you go, tempo is so important because it's so hard to get advantages.
Yes.
You need to be sweating, and tempo is a way where you're going to make the enemy slip up.
The champ that really comes to mind is Talon, because I always say this on the podcast, but like Talon has this massive change where Talon gets early solo kills all the time, right? From like proccing the passive, at level 2, level 3, and getting early solo kills, right? But then what happens at a point where the champion's not getting solo kills anymore? Everyone's spacing your W, you're never proccing your passive. So then you have to you find creative ways to roam, and because you're not going to get roaming windows through killing your counterpart anymore. So it's a really great example of the game evolving. So down to just some quick ways to generate tempo, getting back to the wave when it's in neutral state, getting to your camps on spawn, recalling with your team, arriving at neutral objectives nice and early, recalling immediately after fights, thinking about the next neutral objective, and recalling after crashing a big wave.
Sounds like the best player in the world doing all those things. That sounds awesome.
Pretty self-explanatory. And now I've got one quick point here, the feel of tempo. The end game of tempo understanding, guys, is where you feel the tempo of the game rather than just understand it logically. And the metaphor here is kind of music. You might, Charlie, you're the music guy. Do you want to maybe cook on this one a little bit?
Sure. So I guess a good example of this could be like, are you the kind of person that needs sheet music to play, and are you just going to rote play the sheet music in front of you? Or are you someone who's just going to be able to kind of play along with the song and just feel it as it's going, maybe just intuitively understand what sort of key we're in, what chords we're playing, and just sort of go with it and be able to also like work with that a little bit differently as well. And even though you can't see the sheet music in front of you, you can still play the song.
And that's how I feel like League really is at the highest level. You kind of feel the tempo. You really kind of feel when you're behind or ahead in tempo. You don't even need to think about it. You kind of know.
Yeah.
And you also know how important tempo is in that particular moment. Sometimes you put your foot on the gas and sometimes you take your foot off the gas. And I will say tempo is one of those concepts that has kind of, it pays dividends later on in your journey. It's not really something you would really tunnel vision on massively in the earliest stages.
Oh no, it has to come after champ mastery, a lot of role mastery stuff. Tempo's like the icing on the cake. It's like,
it's like the glue in a way.
Yeah,
it glues everything together.
Yeah.
And now we got some just FAQs here. So we'll go one by one. Is there ever a time where tempo doesn't matter?
Yeah, I think as I've seen a couple of examples and discussed, absolutely. Tempo does not always matter. Sometimes it's better to prioritize things like items or even just missing out on a play. Sometimes it's not as important.
Anything for you in this one? Nope. In what elo bracket is tempo important to understand?
Yeah, I think
For jungle, it might be different, right?
No, I still think champ mastery, as you said, here is really, really important. We got to know how to play our champion first. In what elo bracket? It's a good question. I would say Platinum Plus. What do you guys think?
I was going to say Emeralds.
Emerald.
It gets really significant. Platinum it is definitely in the conversation.
Yeah.
Emerald becomes very significant, but Platinum for sure, I'm talking about it.
Because again, you're sweating for advantages. The people aren't just going to fall over in front of you.
It kind of begins in Plat, I would say.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's also because people won't punish your tempo mistakes until that point. And we, in our coaching, we're not bringing up hypotheticals, right? We're only tackling problems that are on the screen. So if you don't really get punished for tempo mistakes up until I would agree about high Plat Emerald, then that's when it becomes an issue.
Going back to quickly, is there ever a time where tempo doesn't matter? I just have one day popped up.
Thanks for really cutting me off
off tempo by like a whole fucking FAQ right here.
I would say when you're behind, you're sort of more at the mercy of the enemy slipping up to make you sort of them to slip up on their tempo for you to get tempo. You can't just brute force
so
tempo.
You're saying understanding tempo in a way of punishing the enemy rather than you using it yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you don't really have that much control. Like as we sort of see in that Twisted Fate example of yours, when you're ahead, you just have a lot of control of the tempo of the game.
I would say, though, one thing people mess up when they're behind in a game, Nathan, is they will, like, get a pick from behind, and they'll think, like, this is it, I need to go win the game now. They go start an objective or push something, but oftentimes the best thing to do when you get a pick from behind is base and go back to waves, right? So I think, I don't want to, like, gaslight people. When you're behind, tempo is still very important, and you do need to, get back to your duties, right?
Is tempo the same as priority?
Yeah, so priority is just one of those weird words that people use in League of Legends to mean, like, move or like your ability to attend a play. And I think it's a terminology thing. I think generally, I would say
sibling terms. They're like siblings. They're both sort of the same thing.
Yeah, if you have tempo,
tempo leads to priority, right?
Yeah, tempo is what happens before you push the wave, and priority is what happens once you push the wave. Is something like that. It's terminology in League of Legends is so weird. I just slapped this question in there because I know people always talk about what about prio? It's like, well, they kind of go hand in hand. Like
it's with tempo will allow you to generate priority.
Yeah, perfect.
Or priority can generate tempo as well. They actually go there. Think about it.
Well, yeah, it's circular in that
It's
sense,
circular,
right?
yeah.
You can't push the wave if you're not on the wave first, and you can't be on the wave first unless you push the previous wave. So it is literally like an
It's
Ouroboros,
cyclical.
right?
Or you like record at a perfect time or whatever it is.
Yeah. So interesting.
What type of champions need to understand tempo the most? That's kind of echoing what you were talking about before with those types of junglers, like was it Jarvan and Poppy?
Junglers
and
that can't just run around solo killing people, they're really good at setting up their teammates.
I would say supports, because we haven't talked about the support role very much. Like supports that don't necessarily like hard obliterate their lane, like champions that want to more impact the rest of the map, like roaming supports.
Bard.
Really, Bard needs to be a tempo king. You really need to
Pike,
understand tempo. On those
Ali.
games. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for mid lane, it's champs that can play the map. That want to play the map. Actually, I'd say all mid laners want tempo, to be honest. It's probably one of the most important concepts for mid lane specifically. But champs that can like leverage tempo the most are champs that can shove and move really effectively. If you have tempo and champs like Katarina, Fizz, TF, Talia, Ryze, these are the gems that can really leverage it.
It's more explosive, but like let's say you have good tempo in Orianna, it's just going to mean
You
playing
lane lock your opponent.
Exact, beautiful 10 CS per minute, lane lock, full control. Yeah.
Do I need to review tempo in the post game?
Yeah, I think as we said earlier, it's rewinding the VOD to find the root cause, like the butterfly effect. So like what was the tempo issue or the tempo success that led to the play happening can be a really good review tool, definitely.
Ask the question, where did I lose tempo? Or where did I feel like I lost tempo this game? Or why does the game look so easy for the enemy team?
Why were they allowed to do this?
Why did it feel shit, really?
Yeah,
that's what I always say,
I
like
agree.
emotion-based reviewing. Where did this game start to feel really shit?
Yeah.
And typically it's a tempo problem. You've messed the reset window, you messed the lane assignment, you overstayed, you got your base cancelled, you died. Something went wrong that ruined your tempo. Lastly, what do I do if my team is ruining tempo?
Accept reality.
Ace Framework.
Ace Framework.
I actually had a question from Sonia Unity. She's in bronze at the moment, and she says, I can't stop getting my team to Siege Tier 3. She's been watching, long-time BBC listener, knows, Siege Tier 3s is a disaster. And she's like, I see my team. I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm pinging and they don't listen. I said, look, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, you just got to accept reality, make the best play you can, ping, communicate, embrace reality, go back to base, whatever. Do what you can.
Yeah, I mean, I do it in my games. I'm like Master GM, like 300, 400 LP at the moment. Yeah, my team will be like sieging a tower, and I'll just get the vibe that they're going to stick around here anyway. Whatever, I've just got to be there. Got to get in the mud sometimes. Sometimes you got to get down and dirty. Let's just go.
Either accept it, be there, go for that fight, or just let them rot. Because you know that even if your teammates die, the enemy can't get anything off it because there's no dragon or baron or whatever up. Go push a wave. That's going to be a way to reduce their sort of tempo and their sort of plays they can make after your teammates die.
So that's it for our tempo episode on League Fundamentals series. If you have any other questions or comments about tempo, leave it in the description below. Otherwise, we'll see you for another video soon.